astrological forecast for 2026 for representatives of the Pisces sign. The year 2026 has considerably fewer tense astrological transits than 2025 and fewer than 2027 will have. What will this year bring specifically to you, the Pisces representatives? The first thing one wants to say is that this year will give you a sense that it has become easier. Whatever form this manifests in, you will have the feeling that things have lightened. With Saturn leaving your sign, the feeling of heaviness and an endless burden will depart. You will seem to breathe more freely, as though the colors of the world have become brighter for you. For many, this year will bring changes in work or the conditions of your employment, or a change in the rhythm and style of life. For some, this year will bring a change of work as a line of activity, a change of profession. For others, it will show up as changes in the conditions in which you work. Also, for many, this year will play out as a change of the conditions in which you live. It may be a change of residence or other conditions in your domestic life, in your household and routine life. Alongside the fact that many trends from 2025 will continue into the first half of 2026, from mid-February, you will begin to feel that it is lighter, brighter, that some inexplicable feeling of emotional comfort has appeared in your soul. The second half of the year is a time when you will sum up many conclusions and, in a sense, reevaluate the events and changes that occurred in your fate over the past 2 years. You will understand the meanings, see where fate has led you, and appraise the full global scale of the changes and events that have occurred in your destiny over the past 2 years. To make things convenient, let us divide our forecast by spheres of life, by directions, and then by periods, by months of 2026. Let us begin with self-realization. Until mid-August, in this sector of your horoscope, the North Karmic lunar node will be located. It will require of you action, expansion, the manifestation of your ambitions, and will form a need to declare yourself to the world. A need to be in the center of attention, to act from your own interests, to think first of yourself rather than of how your steps, actions, or decisions may suit or displease other people. As a rule, while the North Karmic lunar node moves through our own sign, reminder, this transit ends in mid-August. It essentially inflates the house of our personality. And this often manifests in our occupying more important positions or roles. This does not always mean occupation through work. For example, one might take a more important position in one's family or lineage, but often it shows through one's professional sphere and employment. We take on higher status. This may be a new position or a broader circle of responsibility. It is a time when we try on a new mask or begin to play a role we have not played before. This transit of the North Karmic node began as early as January 2025 and ends in mid-August 2026. So the trends that the Karmic node launched in 2025 continue through to mid-August 2026. That is the need to grow, to declare oneself, the need to become a more significant person, not only for oneself, but a need to be influential within a certain group or collective, whether at work or within one's family. This is a time when we feel the importance of what we do, the importance of what we make of ourselves. Often such a transit brings the necessity of making a solitary decision. We may discuss, ask advice, but the decision is ours alone. The planet Saturn, which since early March 2023 is in your sign, has occasionally slipped out of this sector to relieve you of some burden. But in general, the transit of Saturn through your sign culminates on February 14, 2026. At that point, Saturn will leave your sign, and with it will depart this feeling of additional responsibility, great load, and some sense of unending heaviness or certain limits. Indeed, the transit of Saturn through our sign imposes much on us. It is difficult, it is not easy. However, leaving your sign will bring abundant gifts in return for all the time Saturn forced us to strive. If in the past 3 years you felt that you were working extremely hard, giving your all, dealing with all limitations and loads, doing everything within your power, but getting little result, then at the moment Saturn departs from your sign, it will bring generous rewards for your labors. When Saturn leaves your sign for 30 years, you will feel changed. You will understand what is truly important and valuable, and what is not worth worrying over. You will see which things are trivial and will pass. You will feel strong, calm, and confident. The year 2026 gives you more confidence, quiet confidence that you know what you are doing and that you have enough strength to accomplish it. Yes, The transit of Saturn is a heavy time when we feel compression and a great load. But when on February 14, 2026, Saturn leaves your sign for 30 years, you will sense that life has become easier, that breathing is easier, and that you have, on one hand, truly become yourself, that this difficult time gave you the qualities you needed in life. If we summarize how astrological transits affect the sector of your self-realization, the first half of the year, more precisely until August 18, is a period when you will have a strong need to become a significant person, authoritative. The need to grow, to develop your personality, your capacity to influence what happens around you, to occupy a higher position or post, and take responsibility. The second half of the year, the time after August 18, is the time to draw conclusions, to reap results, and to plan for the future. Next direction, money, finances, resources. This is one of the key aspects for your sign in 2026. A pivotal astrological event of 2026 is the conjunction of Saturn and Neptune in your second house of the horoscope. This is the sector of your finances, resources, and assets, and this places before you a series of tasks. January and the first half of February for your sign is the time to carry out what you might call an objective audit of your assets. It is the time to sum up your financial activity over the last 30 years, or a shorter period if you have not yet reached that age. That is, January and early February is the time when we objectively assess what we own: money, property, real estate, and also our personal resource. We assess projects in which we participate and relationships. We evaluate them from the position of how profitable they are, what they provide us, what perspectives they hold. And we judge not only the material profitability, but also the possibilities for development and future prospects. Then, in mid-February 2026, Saturn, the karmic teacher and stern examiner, moves into this sector of your horoscope for a long stay. Saturn already made a preliminary visit to this sector from late May to early September 2025. It was a trial run. And now, in mid-February 2026, Saturn enters this sector for a sustained transit. This places before you a global task to build a reliable financial backbone, to create a solid financial base you can lean on. Saturn imposes tasks that are global, serious, responsible, tasks with long-term consequences. Its transit through your second house puts before you the challenge of constructing a dependable source, financial and energetic, that allows you to feel secure, both in the present day and when looking ahead financially. Starting from February 14, this becomes a time when you ask yourself, how satisfied am I with my current income level? What supports me materially? What can I depend on? And what can I do to feel more secure financially? Typically, prior to such a period of creating something significant in your affairs, there is a phase of melancholy when we recall where or for whom we expended many resources. Our time, youth, finances. We question what we invested our life in. Often we arrive at sobering conclusions. That is how Saturn works. It first brings about the need, it sets a challenge, and to push us to confront it, it creates a feeling of discomfort, dissatisfaction, uncertainty. Then we direct our energies toward building a financial platform that gives us confidence. The transit of Saturn through your second house begins February 14, and it is a period to approach spending responsibly. Saturn restrains. That means, for example, you might receive a good income, but choose to save or invest it in a major purchase or toward something that will yield worthwhile returns later. In daily life, we may limit ourselves so that resources go into long-term projects. Even if we don't strictly economize on personal spending, we think through what is essential materially, understanding that we need less than we assume. This is a time to curb excess and choose simplicity in needs. And Saturn demands order. Order in finances, in mutual accounts. This is a time to actively bring order to your financial affairs, settle your accounts, address debts and obligations. The core message of Saturn in your financial sector is a mission to build something that will allow you to feel secure financially over the years, to rely on yourself. During this transit, you may save toward a major purchase, perhaps housing, or take out a mortgage and gradually pay it off. You may invest earnings into long-term projects. Simultaneously, Neptune, ruler of your sign, resides in this same sector, offering you the potential to find your financial flow, to find a line of work or direction that becomes profitable and interesting. In summary, for money, finances, and resources, 2026 begins with an audit of what you own and your assets. Then you evaluate the profitability and usefulness of the projects and relationships you're in. Then you design long-term improvements to your financial situation. Invest in what builds security. This transit is rare, having Saturn and Neptune together in your second house. It's a unique moment to discover your money stream and pursue a direction that is financially rewarding and personally meaningful. However, when Saturn takes charge, it demands effort. But if you set long-term goals and work for future result rather than immediate gain, this gives you grand outcomes to rely upon. Saturn makes us labor, whether we want to or not, working on tasks aligned with the house through which it transits. For Pisces, that is finances, income, resources, and your self-worth. Next sphere, health. If in the past 1.5 to 2 years you experienced odd symptoms, hard to diagnose matters, or wandering pains, mid-August 2026 may bring a sudden or unexpected end to them, as strangely as they began. I don't know about you. Personally, as a Pisces, in these past years I too had strange wandering pains that could not be explained. I am also waiting for when the karmic node axis shifts sign, which should make them vanish. On August 18, the South Karmic Lunar Node will move into your 6th house of health. That shift can bring spontaneous healing, or sudden clarity about what exactly is wrong and what needs treatment. So some mysterious symptoms or unexplainable pains may disappear, or you may finally pin down precisely what's off and find treatment. Meanwhile, Saturn will be in your 2nd house, your resources sector, including personal health resource, which is our major life resource. Saturn from the 2nd house forms a favorable aspect to your 6th house, the health sector. That typically gives us physical resilience. We understand we have many tasks and no time to be sick. Illness is not interesting when we are engrossed in so many things. Transit like this often plays out by keeping us so busy with projects, interests, work, that we don't indulge in worry about health. But one must not ignore everything, especially since the North Karmic Node will enter the chronic illness sector in mid-August. If you neglect even a minor ailment, it could evolve into a chronic condition. So giving yourself rest and watching your physical state remains important. Yes, Saturn from the 2nd house offers resilience relative to health, but it can also show that we are too inattentive to ourselves and tend to endure inflammations or minor illnesses. That can lead to complications. So it is necessary to treat yourself with care and find a life rhythm that allows sufficient rest and self-care. If themes of medical treatment are relevant for you and you plan a course of healing in 2026, knowing that Jupiter is in your health sector suggests it would be beneficial to seek a clinic not in your current city. Jupiter in the 6th house points to beneficial treatment abroad or at least in another region, i.e. choosing a clinic you must travel to. Also, Jupiter suggests authority. So choose a clinic known for its reputation or a doctor famous for a method or diagnostic approach. But overall, regarding health, 2026 is healing rather than creating problems. If problems already exist, this year offers possibility for healing. There is only one nuance. This year may bring self-punishment. If you carry guilt about something deeply in your soul, it may express through physical conditions or disease. So if you feel guilt towards someone, something, or yourself, it is important to acknowledge it and try to forgive yourself, because it is that guilt which may unconsciously manifest as self-punishment via your health sector. Therefore, you must rid yourself of guilt. The next area is home and real estate. This sector of your horoscope governs your possessions, your place of residence, and your property. The planet Uranus will influence this sector. That is, this revolutionary planet will affect all matters related to where and with whom you live, under what conditions, and what you own. Essentially everything concerning your belongings. The influence of Uranus is prolonged. Everyone will feel it gradually as Uranus progresses through the sign of Gemini, particularly as Uranus forms an exact square aspect to your natal sun. Uranus is a slow-moving planet, and in the sector of your 4th house of the horoscope, which governs home, domestic affairs, family, and real estate, Uranus will reside for 7 years. Over time, it will form an exact square aspect to the natal sun of each Pisces. However, this will happen gradually. Throughout 2026, The influence of Uranus will be felt by everyone in one way or another, but especially by those born between February 20 and February 25 of any year. For other Pisces, this influence will arrive a little later. Nevertheless, the overall impact of Uranus on this sector will be experienced by all, regardless of exact birth date. So what will Uranus bring to your sign in this sector? Uranus brings experiences that we have not had before or have not had for a long time. For instance, if you have been living alone for a long period and are accustomed to self-sufficiency, now you may start a family, and your living conditions and domestic organization will inevitably change. This could involve moving. Moving is not merely from one apartment to another. It can involve a change in many conditions. For example, you may have always lived in an apartment in a city, and now move to a country house or private home, or conversely, you may have always lived in a private house far from the city, and now move to a large city. Alternatively, it could be a move from one city to another or even a move to another country. Uranus brings experiences we have never had, or we may have never engaged in the process of buying or selling real estate, and now such an opportunity or necessity arises. Perhaps we have never undertaken a major renovation of our home, or have never built a house or a country cottage, and now such a necessity appears. In other words, Uranus brings experiences that are entirely new to us. Sometimes, this influence manifests as adult children moving out to begin their independent lives. Or it could involve work that requires temporary residence in a different location. In such cases, we either rent housing, stay temporarily in a hotel or dormitory, or undertake a major renovation of our home and relocate temporarily, for example, to parents' home or rented accommodation. Uranus often grants young people the experience of living separately from parents, sometimes under temporary conditions or even living with others. For instance, when we travel to a city or country for work or study, we may rent housing with other people to make it financially more feasible. This is also a period when we may deal with the re-registration of documents related to real estate, property deeds, or bills proving ownership. This could include the division of property or the phased acquisition of real estate. For instance, buying an apartment in a building under construction and paying in stages. Uranus symbolizes freedom, and for some, this transit may manifest as a desire to abandon the idea of living permanently in one place. Uranus can inspire an interest in living here and there without being tied to a specific location. For example, frequently visiting adult children or renting housing near them, or living in one's apartment while periodically spending several months at a country house. Uranus gives a sense of freedom, of not being bound to one place, of the possibility of living in different locations. Uranus also symbolizes creativity and the creative process. Therefore, for some, this may manifest as the desire to acquire an old house and renovate it completely, giving a second life to the property. Some may inherit a property and undertake major renovations. In one way or another, Uranus brings changes in this sector, providing experiences previously unknown. The influence of Uranus will be felt by all Pisces, regardless of exact birth date. But the main changes in this sector will affect those born between February 20 and February 26, or those with important planets or sensitive points in the first 6 degrees of Pisces. The next area is work and career. This sector will be influenced by a supportive aspect from Saturn, as well as the transit of Jupiter and the South Karmic lunar node through your 6th house. The transit of Jupiter begins later in the year, and the South Karmic lunar node enters mid-year. However, the supportive aspect from Saturn can already be felt. What does this mean? It indicates a period for the realization of accumulated knowledge, experience, and life wisdom. You will not remain idle or unemployed during this time. Jupiter will expand your sector of work, employment, and responsibilities. This can signify obtaining a new position offering broader possibilities, rights, and more subordinates under your authority. Jupiter symbolizes prestige, so someone may change to a more prestigious job, perhaps in a well-known company. Jupiter's transit is also highly favorable for those running their own business, showing opportunities for expansion through new products, services, or hearing assistance. This is a period of growth in both technical resources and human resources. You may hire additional employees to develop your business. If you have been waiting for a certain position to become available, this year may bring the opportunity to move into that role, especially in the second half of the year. Conversely, if you work under high workload without sufficient salary or opportunities for advancement, you may decide to resign, perhaps around mid-November, to seek work in a calmer environment, even for a similar salary. Having the sixth house in Leo suggests that pride in your work is essential, whether pride in your company's reputation, the products or services you produce, or personal recognition in your field. This could manifest in visible recognition, such as your name displayed in your office, or in having your own professional identity. You may work in one field for years before establishing your own business. Additionally, work in Leo's sector involves helping others gain confidence through your activity, through professions like doctor, psychologist, trainer, consultant, or even in the beauty industry. For those planning to start their own business, the South Karmic Node indicates it should not be entirely new, but something you already know or have experience with, perhaps an idea you have considered for many years. Even if no major career changes are planned, this period provides opportunities for professional growth, promotion, and salary increases, supported by Saturn's favorable aspect. The next sector is personal life. Depending on the current situation, there are several main scenarios. For those in long-term stable relationships with no desire to leave, the year will generally continue as is. With possible changes in domestic responsibilities or partner's schedule, and possibly a major purchase from joint savings. The second scenario involves difficult relationships. Many Pisces have reported feeling stifled in relationships, but unable to leave due to reasons, limitations, or fears. Consistent thoughts of leaving eventually lead to a breakup. The South Karmic Lunar Node indicates that we face the results of our past mistakes in relationships. This may coexist with a strong desire to experience passionate love and excitement, especially in March, which could intensify existing relationship challenges. The third scenario involves those seeking relationships. The first half of the year is favorable for beginning new relationships, with Jupiter expanding your fifth house of romance, emotions, and flirtation. However, restraining influences from Saturn and Neptune suggest that you will seek practical, thoughtful partnerships, cautious in choice, learning from past relationship errors. Trust and openness remain key themes. The next sector is children. Jupiter brings blessings and development in this sector, signaling positive events regarding children, such as childbirth, children's achievements, expensive education, or property gifts. Adult children may move out, reflecting their growing independence. Saturn brings a stricter influence, teaching responsibility and rational use of resources. It can also reflect internal struggles with one's own immaturity. This is a period of joy, achievement, and learning responsibility related to children. Finally, reviewing the year month by month, January features a full moon in Cancer in your fifth house, highlighting themes of joy. You may reflect on how much pleasure you allow yourself, whether you permit moments of enjoyment amid your responsibilities. Saturn's recent influence may have dulled your sense of joy, so this is a time to seek sources of happiness. Breaks and periods of rest enhance productivity. The full moon also indicates completion of creative projects and important events involving children, such as shared trips or joyful communication. Also, this month, a new moon occurs in the sign of Capricorn in your 11th house of the horoscope, and the new moon is the birth of new energy. The 11th house is the house of our vision for the future. Therefore, beginning from mid-January, you will feel that you are ready to actively engage in achievements in the process of realizing your intentions. You may develop new plans, and new like-minded people may appear. You may join new collectives of people, or new people may appear among your circle of communication. Additionally, this is a time when you may have a meeting with your older brother or sister if you see them infrequently. Also, during this period, you may receive results that you have been waiting for a long time, and which most likely may have been delayed. Whatever this may be, whether it is a payment, a parcel, or a long-awaited opportunity to make a trip that you have been preparing for. In the same month, the planet Neptune, the ruler of your sign, moves into the space of the sign Aries. Neptune briefly entered this sector in 2025, in the second astropole of your horoscope, and now, in 2026, Saturn already occupies this position for many years. This indicates that the topic of finding for yourself an activity or a type of occupation is now relevant, something that, on the one hand, brings you income, and on the other hand, is a matter that should be interesting to you or something you plan to engage in for a long time. That is, the transit of Neptune in this sector indicates the task of finding for yourself a direction of activity that truly appeals to you. On January 27, a very important event occurs that will influence us over the following 2 years. This is the beginning of a new Mars-Pluto cycle. On this day, January 27, there will be a conjunction of the planet Mars and the planet Pluto in your 12th house of the horoscope. This gives your sign a very strong desire and need to literally begin a new life. But before that, before starting it, it is necessary to actively deal with matters. That is, an active process of preparation is required in order to introduce such cardinal transformations into your life, into the way your household is organized, into what you do, into your plans for the future, and into what you create, not just for today, but for the long-term perspective. You may reflect on what legacy you are leaving for the world, for your children, and for your descendants. This does not indicate problems in any way. Rather, it means you will think about what exactly needs to be done to transform many areas of your life so that these are not minor improvements, but indeed a significant restructuring. It is very important on this day, January 27, to independently set the vector for this direction. That is, to think about what exactly you want to change in your life, what exactly you want to achieve as a result of your actions. If we do not set the vector of this energy ourselves, it can independently create goals for us. And this is not always beneficial because often in our lives, if we do not have our own long-term goals, the world creates a problem for us that substitutes for a goal. Then, solving this problem becomes the purpose itself. Therefore, it is important to focus on setting for yourself, on January 27, 2026, a significant global task that you will be working on for 2 years, since the Mars-Pluto cycle lasts 2 years. Indeed, such a conjunction in the 12th astropole gives a very strong need for freedom and to liberate your life as much as possible from routine. A need to start something from a clean slate, but you will clearly understand that in order to start something anew, you must create this clean slate. That is, you need to thoroughly sort out matters from the past. February is a key month of the year. In February, the global mechanism of the main plots of 2026 begins. On February 1, there is a full moon in the sign Leo in your 6th house of the horoscope. Essentially, this is a time when you answer questions for yourself about how satisfied or unsatisfied you are with your current state of affairs. The matters involved here are organizational. That is, this is a time when you can evaluate how convenient and harmonious the lifestyle you lead is for you. This is a time when you can make decisions that you will implement over the next 1.5 years. It may concern how your daily life is organized, your work schedule, and your overall style of activity. Also, the 6th house for you is the sector of health. Now, specifically in February, at the beginning of this month, you may think about how satisfied you are with your physical condition. This is not just about health problems, but about how satisfied you are with how you look physically. Many people may decide that they need to take care of themselves, engage in sports, adjust nutrition, improve their sleep and rest schedule in order to feel better physically. But primarily, this full moon is about finding answers to questions for yourself, answers to how satisfied or dissatisfied you are with the style and way of life you lead. Soon, in August of this year, the axis of the karmic lunar nodes will touch your 6th house, where eclipses will occur. This indicates that global changes will occur in this area in the coming 1.5 years, and now they are only beginning to form. Therefore, at this moment, you are only preliminarily building the route you will soon follow. This is also a time when a certain cycle related to your work may conclude. For some, this may be a period of changing jobs. For others, it may be the completion of work with a certain client or a change in the state of affairs of the company in which you work. On February 17, the first eclipse of 2026 occurs. It happens in the sign Aquarius in your 12th house. This eclipse is the first on this axis and touches a new string of our soul, setting a new task before us. The 12th house, where this eclipse takes place for your sign, is the house of what lies behind us. It is the house of the past, the house of completion and preparation for a new stage. It is also the house of our hidden resources. This is a very important time for you, the period of this eclipse. It is a time when you can find within yourself personal resources to realize your goals. That is, to find something new, a hidden potential that you can use to transform your life. This eclipse, an eclipse in the 12th house, is not easy for you because it touches very global themes. This concerns the question of what everything in life is for, what all efforts are for, what will be at the end. These are questions we ask ourselves and find answers to. What is most important for us? What is fundamental, the purpose for which we expend many efforts in life? Essentially, the 12th house is the house of dissolving attachments that we have to the material world. And this is a time when you can step over certain fears, illusions, delusions, and simultaneously free yourself from attachments. Many of us fall into a trap where we are afraid to move forward because we fear losing something. But in reality, in the material world, we have nothing to lose. We cannot take anything with us when the time comes. Therefore, this is exactly the period when you understand that there is no reason to be afraid. There is nothing to fear, and fearing makes no sense. Furthermore, this month, several other important astrological events occur. The planet Saturn leaves your zodiac sign for a long time, 30 years. Saturn had briefly left your sector from the end of May to the beginning of September 2025. At that time, you may have felt that it became easier, as if you could breathe more freely, move more easily. Now, Saturn finally leaves your sign. It moves into your second astropole. We have already discussed in detail its influence in the section concerning finances, because now Saturn comes to your sector of resources, both financial and personal, energetic, for 22 years, and will conduct an audit and establish order. Again, we have discussed this in detail in the finance section. This is a period that requires work from you to create a source of income or a reliable financial material platform upon which you can confidently look to the future. On February 20, a historic astrological event occurs in the starry sky. This is the conjunction of the planets Saturn and Neptune, which signifies many things. It indicates the beginning of a new geopolitical era and also significant progress in the field of medicine. This conjunction will influence the entire world, and its essence is indeed global. Primarily, regarding the positive aspects of this conjunction, it means that the world of medicine can expect very significant progressive changes. In the coming few years, medicine will make substantial progress, particularly in regeneration. For example, regenerating teeth, bones, and joints. This is partially done today, but not on such a broad scale. Saturn, concerning the physical human body, represents bones, the spine, and teeth. That is, all solid structures in our body. Neptune represents medicine, hospitals. Together, they indicate significant progress in regenerating teeth, bones, and tissues. On the socio-political level, this conjunction signifies the beginning of a new era, either a more pronounced division of the world into two parts or a fundamentally new socio-political structure. This is indeed a historic astrological event, one that happens very rarely. In March, a full moon occurs, more precisely, a lunar eclipse in Virgo in your 7th house. The karmic axis of the lunar nodes has already been affecting your sector of partnership relationships, the 7th astropole, since January 2025. This lunar eclipse provides many results and conclusions regarding the changes and transformations in the sector of relationships, personal, friendly, and professional, through which you have passed over the past 1.5 years. This period will bring clarity to questions of relationships. It may concern personal life, relationships with friends, or business partnerships. The principles, style, and goals of your relationships may change. For some, this may be a period of changing partners, either in work or personal life. At minimum, this is a time when you re-answer for yourself the question of what connects you with these people and why you plan to continue or not continue these relationships. Additionally, this eclipse may manifest as significant events concerning key partners. It is not something new, The eclipse gives results of what is already occurring and summarizes them. On March 19, a new moon occurs in your sign. This is your personal new year. It is a time to think about yourself, to be selfish in the positive sense of the word, to focus on what is important and beneficial to you, not considering whose convenience your actions or decisions may affect. This is your time, a time to consider your plans or introduce something new to the image you project to the world. It is the period of your personal new year, a time to reflect on your plans and intentions. Often, during the new moon in one's own sign, we desire to change something about our appearance. These are not necessarily radical changes, but we think about the impression we make on others and often decide to alter our style, behavior, or wardrobe. You will feel very strong during this time, feeling that you yourself are your support and do not need to seek this support in others. In April, a full moon occurs in Libra in your 8th house, summarizing some of your financial settlements. For some, this may involve opening a bank account or receiving a credit card. For others, it may involve securing a mortgage. For some, it will be a time to resolve financial matters connected to dealings with other people, organizations, or the state. This could include taxes, insurance policies or insurance payments, alimony, shared property, or the level of income of your partner. Also this month, a new moon occurs in Aries in your 2nd astropole, the sector of finances and resources. Important beginnings related to your budget will take place here. Some may decide to redistribute their income differently. Some may find a new job or an additional source of income. Essentially, this month is a period during which you will resolve financial issues successfully. It is important to rely on yourself, your income, resources, and personal capabilities. Additionally, this month brings another important astrological event. The planet Uranus, the planet of the future, on the 20th of April, enters your 4th astropole for 7 years. Uranus briefly entered this sector of your horoscope in 2025 for a preliminary visit, but now it transitions for a long, multi-year stay. In 2025, you may have already felt the first impulses of Uranus. You may have felt that things cannot remain the same regarding where you live, the conditions in which you live, how your household life is organized, or family relationships. Now, as Uranus enters this sector for a main, long-term visit, this is a period of new experiences for you, primarily related to how your family life is organized, your family relationships, and what you own. Uranus here will provide new experiences associated with ownership of real estate, and new experiences in organizing household and family life. May is a month that is also full of important astrological events. It is a month of 2 full moons and also a very significant astrological aspect, which gives an impulse for transformations for the next 7 years. On May 1st, there is a full moon in the sign of Sagittarius in your 9th astrological house, and this gives you either some kind of trip or preparation for it. This is a time when you can decide to complete some important matters related to learning, teaching, traveling, moving, or issues that concern legal or bureaucratic matters. May new moon occurs in your 3rd astrological house, and in both a literal and figurative sense, opens new roads before you. Moreover, these are roads that you have already carefully considered. That is, this is a time for the beginning of the implementation of those plans that you have already outlined for yourself. Here, new interesting tasks will appear before you, which will not arise out of nowhere. Essentially, this is the beginning of the realization of those plans that you have been thinking about for a long time. For some, this may manifest as acquiring a new means of communication or transport. May 22nd is a day that is worth marking in your calendar. On this day, the Sun and the planet Uranus come together in your 4th astrological house. It is precisely on this day that it is important to think about what kind of transformations you want over the next 7 years. It is important to note that transformations will inevitably occur, whether we want them to or not. But on this particular day, May 22nd, we have the opportunity to set the vector of this energy because the Sun and Uranus are conjunct. This marks the beginning of a new 7-year cycle in your 4th astrological house. This sector symbolizes our home, family, place of residence, real estate, and property. Uranus brings something new here, bringing new energy and new experiences. On this day, it is important to consider what changes you want in this sphere, where, how, with whom, and under what conditions you want to live. That is, to set for yourself the direction of future transformations concerning your place of residence and family relationships. And again, this cycle is long, lasting 7 years. Therefore, the results of what we think about now, the desires we make, and the goals we set can only be fully evaluated in 7 years. That is when we will fully see the fruits of what we are thinking about now and what intentions we set for ourselves. Also, this month we will experience the first square, which is a tense aspect. One of the most tense aspects of 2026 is the square between Mars and Pluto, between two planets that symbolize struggle and extreme conditions. Therefore, on May 26th, it is not advisable to plan the resolution of important matters. This is a day that should be spent as calmly as possible without planning significant events. At the very end of this month, another full moon occurs in your 10th astrological house. The 10th house symbolizes our status, our position on the social and career ladder. A full moon in this sector delivers results. For some, this may be receiving a diploma, for others passing an exam, for some a new position or new powers at work. For some, it may also be a period of active preparation for marriage or the birth of a child. The full moon in the 10th house emphasizes our status, giving results of the processes that are already happening, and to some degree, changing our social role and social standing. This full moon provides results of the tasks that are most significant for you during this period. For some, this may again be entering into marriage, for some resolving issues related to their work, business, or authority at work. Or these could be matters related to your parents. That is, this full moon is a resulting one, giving us the fruits of what we have been engaged in for some time, and these are the fruits we can be proud of. June, there is a new moon in the sign of Gemini in your 4th house of the horoscope, drawing your attention to new processes, new themes, ideas, and opportunities in matters related to your place of residence, home, family, and intrafamily relationships. The new moon brings something new for some. This may manifest through the sphere of your residence, such as moving, renovation, or home purchases, or renting out your property. If you rent a property, during this period the terms of your rental may change. This may also manifest through new developments related to the family, new family plans, or changes and new plans for one of your relatives. Also this month, a full moon occurs in the sign of Capricorn in your 11th house of the horoscope, bringing the completion of a process for which you have long-awaited results. For some, this full moon may manifest as the completion of collective or social work. That is, you may complete work you have done together with other people, or a topic that has been a subject of discussion and communication among you, and a large group of people may close. This full moon may also bring significant events related to your older brother or sister. This is also a time when you can complete work or an important part of work on implementing your long-term project. This is a time when you realize that you have already achieved many significant results. Also, if learning or modern forms of work through the internet or social networks are relevant for you, this full moon will bring both results and understanding of the mistakes you have made and what can be improved. June 20th is an important day. Events of this day or your decisions will determine the vector of your further movement and will bear fruits and results over the next several years. Decisions made on this day will not manifest quickly, but they are irrevocable. Therefore, it is very important to consider carefully what you think about during this day, what decisions you make, and what goals you set. This decision may again be related to your place of residence, property, or family matters. Also this month, the planet Jupiter, our most generous celestial benefactor, changes signs and moves into your 6th astrological house for a whole year. Jupiter will provide new opportunities related to realization through work and employment. This is not necessarily direct work in the literal sense if you do not work, but the expansion of opportunities connected with your engagement, whatever you do, beyond basic routine household tasks. Jupiter provides the opportunity to acquire a new profession, expand your business, obtain a new position at work, or combine several jobs at the same time. That is, Jupiter brings opportunities for development. More details about this transit of Jupiter will be discussed in a separate video. Starting June 30th, generous Jupiter moves into the sector of your employment, work, and professionalism, which will expand your opportunities, interests, and prospects. In July, a new moon occurs in the sign of Cancer in your 5th house, bringing new themes related to your children, new shared plans. The 5th house, where this new moon occurs, is also the house of joy and celebration. Therefore, this time may become a period of preparation for some festive event or trip. It is also a time that will bring you a new emotionally responsive theme that will please you. This may be a hobby or interest, or a time to engage in something you have postponed for a long time but are very interested in. This is a new reason for celebration or a stream of inspiration. Also this month, a full moon occurs in the sign of Aquarius in your 12th astrological house. This puts a full stop to the resolution of a difficult and complex task for you. This task may be practical. You will be able to finalize a long-standing issue that caused tension. It may also be emotional, where you feel that a story from the past is behind you, and you no longer need to think, worry, or even recall it. This full moon will give you a sense of freedom from a barrier or resolution of a task. It does not matter whether you resolved this task practically through action or mentally in your mind. This full moon may also mark the completion of a move or the receipt of important documents connected to your past or residence. August is a month of 2 eclipses. On August 12th, there is a solar eclipse in your 6th house. A solar eclipse is like a door to changes and transformations in terms of the schedule, style, and rhythm of your life. For some, this may manifest in changes in how your routine or home life is organized. For others, it may manifest through work, changes in the conditions of your employment, or your work schedule. This solar eclipse signals that things will no longer be as they were. The eclipse occurs in the sign of Leo, which symbolizes what we take pride in. Therefore, at this time, you will want to create something you can be proud of, which can be considered an achievement. This can primarily manifest through work, but not necessarily. It can manifest in everyday activities. If you have an adult child, they may delight you with their achievements, showing independence. The eclipse in the 6th house may also relate to health, such as starting sports or other regular practices to improve your physical condition. On August 28th, there is a lunar eclipse in your sign. This is a resulting eclipse when you can summarize the transformations in your life over the past 1.5 years. These may be changes related to your social role, work, personal life, or hobbies. This is a time when we shed the mask we have been wearing and realize it is no longer necessary. This eclipse provides a deeper understanding of what is happening around you and a clearer understanding of your future plans. Also in August, another very important astrological event occurs. The axis of karmic lunar nodes changes sign. For the next 1.5 years, it will occupy positions in your 12th and 6th houses. This changes the vector and main direction of your life path. On August 18th, you can objectively assess events in your life over the past 1.5 years, allowing you to rest and tackle postponed tasks or fully implement the programs planned over the last 1.5 years.